In the 6th century, the Arabian Peninsula was the quiet backyard of the known world. The nomadic Arab tribes who lived there were dwarfed by two massive superpowers on their borders, the Christian Byzantine Empire to the west and the Persian Sasanian Empire to the east. That dynamic shifted completely around 570 CE with the birth of Muhammad in the city of Mecca. Over the course of his life, he united these fractured polytheistic desert tribes into a single monotheistic faith. His teachings and revelations were compiled into the Quran, laying the foundation for a cohesive Muslim nation. When Muhammad died in 632, his successors, known as caliphs, launched a military campaign that exploded outward from the peninsula. In just 30 years, they completely swallowed the Persian Empire and stripped the Byzantines of their eastern territories. By succeeding so rapidly, the Arab conquerors inherited an immediate administrative nightmare. They accidentally absorbed millions of diverse people across thousands of miles, creating a colossal empire that simply could not be governed by the informal rules of the desert. The very top of the leadership was already fracturing. Muhammad's death triggered an intense dispute over who was fit to lead this massive new community. One group claimed leadership belonged strictly to Muhammad's bloodline, while others argued it should be based on qualification. This dispute over succession birthed the Sunni and Shia divide, a political rift that would deepen into a permanent religious split. In 661, an Arab family called the Umayyads seized control. They moved the capital out of the Arabian Peninsula to Damascus in modern-day Syria. Here, they established a strict monarchy, where the title of caliph passed directly from father to son, and they aggressively pushed the empire's borders all the way to Spain. But the Umayyads ruled with an Arab-first mentality. They treated newly conquered non-Arab Muslims as second-class citizens. This exclusivity bred deep resentment across the territories. By 750, various opposition groups united their military forces, overthrew the Umayyads, and brutally massacred the ruling family. The collapse of the Umayyads proved a harsh reality of imperial logistics. A sprawling, highly diverse empire stretching across 3 continents would rapidly tear itself apart if it remained under the control of an exclusive Arab elite. Survival now required opening the government to the non-Arab millions it actually ruled. Out of that chaos rose the Abbasid dynasty. The Abbasids halted the policy of outward military expansion and turned their gaze inward. They moved the seat of power eastward, constructing a prosperous new capital city from scratch, Baghdad. To govern effectively, the Abbasids dismantled the old Arab monopoly on power. They integrated Persian and Turkic populations into the highest levels of government. Persian culture, which had been battered during the initial conquests, experienced a massive revival, and its administrative systems became the backbone of the new state. This stability ignited the Islamic Golden Age. The Caliphate funded a massive project to translate foreign scientific writings into Arabic. This anatomical drawing of the human eye is a direct result of that era, used by scholars to produce immense original research. This explosion was deeply collaborative. Persian, Turkic, and Arab thinkers working together, using Arabic as a unified scientific language. By embracing this diversity, the civilization grew into a multi-ethnic, global intellectual powerhouse. In just a few centuries, the Islamic story had become as much Persian and Greek as it was Arab. But while art and science flourished in Baghdad, political control was slipping. By the mid-9th century, the Abbasid Caliph lost his military grip over the provinces. Local Persian and Arab Shia dynasties began carving out their own vast territories, reducing the Sunni Caliph to a mere religious figurehead locked inside his own palace. Into this fractured political landscape rode a completely new demographic. Pushed by climatic pressures, waves of nomadic Turkic tribes migrated from the Central Asian steppes. Economically reliant on livestock and possessing deadly skills as mounted archers, many of these tribes converted to Sunni Islam as they moved into the Middle East. By 1055, one of these Turkic families, the Seljuks, marched into Baghdad and took military control. They didn't depose the Abbasid Caliph. Instead, they ruled through him, assuming the brand new title of Sultan. They then deployed their vast armies westward, defeating the Byzantine emperor and opening Greek Christian Anatolia to Turkic settlement. The dynamic of the Middle East had inverted. The founding Arab dynasties were largely powerless, and the administration, defense, and expansion of the core Islamic world had been entirely outsourced to the very foreign nomads who had just recently arrived on its borders. That Turkic military strength would soon face a severe test. In the 13th century, a unified group of nomadic tribes, the Mongol Empire, began a terrifying sweep out of the steppes north of China, crashing directly into the eastern Islamic borders. The Mongol forces were merciless. In 1258, they besieged Baghdad and razed it to the ground. They massacred the inhabitants, executed the Abbasid caliph by rolling him in a carpet and trampling him with horses, and burned the great libraries to ash. 500 years of Abbasid leadership ended in smoke. With Baghdad destroyed, the survival of the civilization fell to an unlikely group in Egypt, the Mamluks. The Mamluks were an elite military class of Turkic slave soldiers, originally purchased from the steppes to serve as bodyguards for Muslim rulers. In the chaos of the 13th century, this elite warrior class violently seized political control from their owners. In 1260, Mamluk Anis met the Mongols in battle and halted their advance. Emboldened, they turned their forces toward the Mediterranean coast, systematically crushing the remaining European Crusaders who had occupied the region for nearly 200 years. The Mamluk victory meant that the survival of the heartland now rested in the hands of foreign-born slaves who had risen to become absolute masters. The old Arab aristocracy was no longer the shield of the faith. Even the brutal Mongol threat was eventually absorbed. As their massive empire fractured into local dynasties, many of the invading Mongol elites actually converted to Islam. They adopted local Turkic dialects and integrated into the very cultural fabric they had once tried to destroy. Meanwhile, in the western territories of Anatolia, a new power was taking shape. Around the year 1300, a leader named Osman united a small principality of Turkic Muslims. Through aggressive military campaigns against the weakening Byzantines, Osman's descendants forged the Ottoman Empire. In 1453, the Ottomans breached the ancient walls of Constantinople, wiping out the last remnants of Byzantine rule. Utilizing highly advanced new gunpowder technologies, they pushed south, captured Cairo, and executed the last Mamluk sultan. The Ottoman ruler declared himself the new caliph, taking supreme authority over the Sunni Muslim world. By the 16th century, the Middle East and its surrounding regions were dominated by three massive, stable military states known as the Gunpowder Empires: the Ottomans in the west, the Shia Safavids in Iran, and the Mughals ruling over India. The Islamic world survived its first 1,000 years not by maintaining a rigid Arab bloodline, but through an unmatched capacity to act as a cultural sponge. By absorbing its Persian subjects, elevating its Turkic slaves, and converting its Mongol conquerors, the civilization continuously rebirthed itself into new global powers.